Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Rich. The name of the channel is Rich the Return Rider. So guys, we're out today on another beautiful, I guess fall day you'll call it, here in Florida. I'm in Lake City, Florida. Time is now probably about 2 o'clock or so. I've got a couple of days off from work. So got plenty of time here now to bring you guys some content. For you guys that's here for the first time, thanks for tuning in. For you guys that's return viewers, welcome back to the channel. All you guys that's subscribers, thanks for the support. So today guys, we're going to have a conversation about what I'm sitting on here guys is the 2019 Honda Goldwing, and this is the manual version, not the DCT. I went to Bike Week this weekend, met up with some friends. I got lots of questions on why I bought the manual, knowing that this bike is so known for its DCT transmission. So let's go take a little ride through the neighborhood. Like I said, a beautiful day, and we'll have a little discussion about that. Feeling a little rusty guys, haven't been on the bike for a couple of days. So, for you guys that's new to the channel, Rich the Return Rider is a channel inspired by me getting back into riding motorcycles after being away from motorcycles for 20 plus years. I'll give you guys a little history. And the motorcycle that I bought when I returned to riding, guys, is the 2012 Suzuki Boulevard M109R. Started riding motorcycles in the mid to late 1990s. Rode at the time mostly sports bikes. Was always a big fan of the Hayabusa. And getting back into riding at an older age, I decided that sports bike was no longer going to be in my future. So a bike that I have always been a big fan of, guys, is like I said, the Hayabusa. And the 2012 Boulevard is the closest thing in the cruiser line that came to that motorcycle. Hence the reason why I purchased it. Now, I have owned that motorcycle going on almost 2 years now. I have done plenty of classes and practices on that motorcycle. I totally buy into the slow speed maneuver courses, and I'm a big fan of the folks that teaches those courses and practices and classes, whatever you want to call them. And so guys, that's going to be one of the reasons again why I chose the manual of this specific motorcycle over the DCT. For you folks that don't know, DCT means dual clutch transmission, and it's pretty much a automatic transmission that Honda is now pretty famous for. So one of the things that inspired this video, guys, is as I was learning more and more about this motorcycle that we purchased for my wife. Mostly, I was never into the baggers, was never the big Harley bagger guy, Goldwing, Victories, none of those motorcycles, like I said. Always liked sports bikes. But, you know, they always say don't knock it until you try it. Because, man, getting back into the world and riding and getting out and riding some of these motorcycles, there has been some awesome bikes that I have test ride. Those Harley street glides and road glides, guys, I have bought into it. That, of course, that's the way to go. So anyway, guys, let's get back to it. So as I was watching some videos, and I'm learning as much about this motorcycle as I can, and I'm watching YouTube, all things Goldwing, an interesting topic came to mind. Well, not came to mind, I saw an interesting title on a YouTube video. And the title of that video was Goldwing Riders Suck. Well, now being a part of the Goldwing community, of course, I had to tune into the channel. And what this channel was based on, guys, it was a follow-up video, or what you'll say maybe a rebuttal. I love riding these roads here, watching this community develop, all the new homes and so forth going up. Like I was saying, guys, as I was watching this YouTube video, it was basically of a 19-year-old that took his dad's Honda Goldwing, the last generation, like this Honda Goldwing out. And of course, he was a little surprised, coming from his world of sports bikes, how fast this motorcycle was. He rant and rave about the performance of the motorcycle. So as he was out experimenting with his dad's Goldwing, he decided he was going to do some 0 to 60 test runs just to see how fast the motorcycle was. I think the fastest time that I have seen him do was actually a 0 to 60 of 4.8. I think that's what he got down to as his final number. And probably mentioned something to the effect of why would people buy a manual, automatic transmission motorcycle as opposed to the manual, and how it would probably take away from the fun. Now, in making that statement, he seemed to ruffle some feathers. And he's got some response to that video, some of it not so positive, I should say, on the fact that he knew nothing of what he was talking about, and how he should repeat the tests using the DCT that obviously, as we know, give you a little bit more performance than the manual transmission. According to him, some of the comments being kind of nasty. And his response, this kid's response, and I'm going to say kid because at one point I was hesitant to call him a kid, but I saw he did that in his own video. So, this 19-year-old, this kid, didn't like the response that he got from the especially the DCT audience, and decided to make another video, that I'm going to call his rebuttal to to the negative comments he got. He actually posted one of the comments with somebody telling him repeat the tests using the DCT, which is the fastest of the two motorcycles. And he took I guess a little bit of offense to that, but in all honesty, guys, I think this kid was being strategic in what he did, and I think he's accomplished what he wanted to do. His videos to date has got over 6,000 views and quite a bit of comments. So I think mission accomplished. But anyway, guys, in saying that and being entertained by that, well, I also went back and watched his other video where he actually was doing some of the testing. And the kid was pretty articulate and pretty expressive in what he was trying to explain. He did say, in better conditions with a better rider, you can probably get, probably down into lower numbers. He's absolutely right. I think I've seen numbers as low as in the 3s for someone riding, doing their 0 to 60. But guys, now we're going to talk about, like I said, I'm going to be rambling on here for a little bit because You know, got some time out, just enjoying the area, enjoying the weather. Again, gotta love Florida. I can do this year round. That's what reason why I moved here. You know, I have a video ranting and raving called "Why I Bought the Suzuki Boulevard M109R." I'm doing a pretty similar ride. This is one of the roads that I come to practice. You know, and from time to time we'll bring my wife along this ride here just to get her used to being on the bike and so forth. Like I said, the developing community, I love taking these rides over here and seeing all the changes. But anyway, guys, topic at hand. So why I bought the manual version of a 2019 Honda Goldwing as opposed to buying the DCT. Now, when I got back into riding, guys, and I bought the Boulevard, the focus on me getting back into riding and also this channel was going to be on safety being a priority. And with safety being a priority, guys, I love the cone courses. Haven't done the cone course yet with this motorcycle. I would love to get some drop guards for it. If anyone knows of anybody that's selling decent drop guards for this version Honda Goldwing, please post it in the comments below. Big supporter of the likes of Jerry Palladino, Ride Like a Pro. You type that in, guys, and this guy's got thousands of videos out there. Ex-retired police officer. Actually, I guess a motorcycle instructor for police officers. You know, these guys talk about the fundamental of riding. I always call it motorcycle riding 101. There's plenty of things that I'm learning now on this journey back to riding motorcycles that I didn't know before. And things like that is what inspired me to do this channel, guys. Safety being the priority, getting out and practice, and, you know, learning how to really operate these, you know, these, I'm going to call them these serious vehicles. Special shout out to my buddy Robert Simmons. His channel is called Paying It Forward. I look to that guy to be somewhat of a mentor to me. He's in Pooler, Georgia, also a retired lieutenant from the New York City region. You know, that takes his time, but his time and so forth into teaching us all the stuff that he learned as a motor officer. You know, again, with safety being the priority. You know, like I said, I show up to some of these classes and people have been riding motorcycles for decades that cannot do the basics or operate the basic functions on a cone course. But, you know, we're out there in traffic and so forth, riding at some speeds that is, you know, that can be pretty serious stuff, guys. So, like I said, in buying into those, well, I'm going to say that way of thinking, learning to be, you know, to be controlling your motorcycles, total control of these motorcycles. One of the things that seems to be priority in those classes is the technique of the clutch, the rear brake, and using your head and eyes to place the motorcycle where you want it to go. Now, I clearly understand someone buying this motorcycle that this is the only motorcycle they have. They commute a lot. They sit in lots of traffic. The roads that I'm riding on right now, guys, is pretty much, I can ride roads similar to this from here all the way to Gainesville until I reach into Gainesville and also to Jacksonville. What I'm saying is traffic is never a big issue to me. You know, the operating the clutch and getting fatigue is never a concern. I mean, I was down in Orlando this weekend. I was down in Leesburg for Bike Week. And to be honest with you guys, like I said, I haven't rode a DCT. Apparently neither did that 19-year-old. You know, and the idea of having the clutch to help me control the motorcycle is what I'm learning now. I'm still somewhat of a rookie back on this journey to learning to ride motorcycles, and I think I'm always going to be a rookie because I'm always going to be trying to learn new things. Now, shifting between that 2012 Suzuki Boulevard M109R and this motorcycle takes a little bit of a transition. I mean, they're both operated in the same way with the same controls, but even the placement of the foot of the boulevard, when I jump off this motorcycle and I have my feet extended forward on the boulevard, it takes me a little getting used to. You know, I have to be conscious and really aware of the two different motorcycles. Of course, the brakes, the throttle, everything is going to be totally different, or have a different feel to it. But the method of operation when it comes to clutch, rear brake, and throttle remains the same. I have watched some videos with some folks that talk about how easy and seamless the transition was, and going from, the standard motorcycles to ride into DCT, and I can understand that. My question will be to the folks that still owns a manual transmission. I watched one video with a guy that bought this motorcycle. He also owns a Harley. The video I watched was with him doing his first big ride with this motorcycle, and ranting and raving about the comforts and how awesome it was to have that automatic transmission. And right next to it, he had his Harley sitting in his driveway. So to someone like that, and I think I did leave a comment in his comment section to ask him, did he have any problems, or what it was like for him transitioning between the two motorcycles. I have yet to get a response from him. This was a couple of days ago. I'll give it some time. But I'm posing the question to any of you guys out there. First of all, for you guys that own the Goldwing DCT, what your transition was like. Again, not reaching for a clutch during certain situations, since you were used to doing that if you rode for any extended period of time. So again, a question that I would like to ask for someone that, that has transitioned to this DCT, or to the DCT, I should say. My wife and I knew I wanted a manual transmission when I started looking at this motorcycle. For everything I saw online, it was the DCT. I have rarely seen in any ad where they had a manual Honda Goldwing for sale. What was surprising to me is when I went out to my local dealership, most of the motorcycles that were at the dealerships, guys, I did a video before when I rode by this house as it was being built. The house is now finished. They recently did a open house. I meant to go and check it out and see what it was like, but I have a friend of mine that's interested from up north that's looking for homes in these regions, but I don't think he's ready to live in a place like Lake City. Anyway, that's my opinion. So yeah, guys, get a little bit of practice here in a cul-de-sac, doing some U-turns. Feels great, guys. Anyway, so yeah, that's a question that I'd like to ask for someone that have the two different motorcycles. Like I said, that was one of my concerns. what I have been told, and I hear it continuously as I'm watching the Jerry Palladino videos, the Robert Simmons Paying It Forward, MC Ryder. Guys, another YouTube channel there that's must watch. MC Ryder, guy Kevin out of Texas, Fort Worth, I think it is, Texas. This guy put videos out every Friday, I think it is. His focus being on road strategies. Again, encouraging these slow speed techniques, practicing emergency braking, swerving, U-turns, maneuvering the motorcycle, you know, having full control. But I love what he teaches also. His beliefs and his concept is you practice all of these things as often and as much as you can till it becomes second nature to you. And then you ride in a way that you never have to use them. You know, again, hence his whole thing about road strategies. Well, guys, so yeah, the thing about it is, what I'm hearing from these guys all the time is that our instincts when it comes to riding motorcycles are usually, one person said, in all cases are wrong. And you know, you're going to see it. You know, I'm riding through the neighborhood the other day on the boulevard. My neighbor waved me down in the attempt to stop as quick as possible. All I did was, you know, apply some pressure to the back brake to the point where it actually locked the rear wheel up. You know, and you know, that's an instinct that we have even driving our cars. Something runs out or something happened in an emergency situation, a lot of times we don't think about gradually squeezing that brake. We kind of apply a little bit more pressure to the brake than we should. And if not for modern technology today, guys, a lot of us will be completely losing control of those cars. You know, one of the things, again, that I'm going to be big in preaching, because this is what I'm being taught. I'm no expert, no motorcycle instructor, but someone that gets out and practice for hours on these techniques to make them life-saving muscle memory, you know, kind of actions. But, you know, emergency braking, you know, is something that I try to practice as often as I can. You know, I've actually even tried to stop my motorcycle in sand. You know, on occasions when I come across it, just to see what the reaction would be. And so I'm never in a panicking situation, you know. On the boulevard, which is one of my complaints about the boulevard, I don't have ABS. So locking that motorcycle up is a concern of mine. The thing that I really don't understand is I've also looked at the later model, I think it was a 2019 Suzuki Boulevard, and to this day, Suzuki still doesn't provide ABS on that motorcycle, and I cannot for the life of me understand why. You know, I've got a co-worker of mine that bought a leader bike, sports bike. That bike have ABS, cornering control, or cornering ABS, whatever they call it. You know, different modes of riding. And you know, this is 2021, and the M109R bikes that's being produced still don't have something as simple as ABS. Everybody knows I love that motorcycle, man, but that motorcycle encourages me to get out and practice as much as I can for that simple fact. The great thing about buying this motorcycle for my wife is that it employs all of these little features to help make this motorcycle a safer motorcycle, not just for me, but having her on the motorcycle is a big plus. Kudos to the Honda, Goldwing, Harley, and all the folks that make that stuff a priority. So yeah, guys, let's talk about a little bit about muscle memory. So since one of the things that I'm hearing and I'm learning from the experts, that all of our instincts in riding a motorcycle is wrong, makes it more important for us to get out and practice this stuff so it becomes second nature, you know, in the event of an emergency. I'm going to affiliate muscle memory, you know, with being part of that reflex that I have when something happens. You know, I am not resorting back to my natural instincts and more what I consider to be a learned behavior. So in my journey back on riding motorcycles, the idea of buying the DCT and still having a manual transmission motorcycle that I'm going to be, you know, going back and forth between, you know, it's something that I didn't want to complicate the learning curve of getting back into riding motorcycles. It's not an easy thing to do, but it is fun. So in keeping it fun, I also want to keep it as safe as I possibly can. So guys, another reason why I bought the manual is coming from the old school days, guys, of being somewhat of a street racer and all the performance cars and so forth that I've been affiliated with in the past. The most fun that I have had, guys, is when I had to shift gears and I had to use a clutch. Now, I think it's last year I had the opportunity to drive the Ferrari, I think it's called the 488. And as my nephew gave me a drive in that car, I immediately put it over to the paddle shift manual mode. And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, you know, I've never driven the car in that mode. And I understand him being from the newer generation of drivers, he's having all the fun he can have with the kind of performance that car produces. But the idea of getting into a corner and, you know, being able to control where the car shifts or where the motorcycle shifts, you know, again, it is a concern to me, or for me. You know, I was watching, now one of the things that I mentioned about this motorcycle is in the DCT version of this motorcycle, they still allow you the option of putting it in manual mode and paddle shifting it, just like that Ferrari, guys. What's awesome that I found out as I was researching some of this stuff is Corvette offers a DCT transmission. One of the guys that I rode with on Sunday on my little Leesburg motorcycle ride said that he had a GTI Volkswagen. And for anyone that knows about those cars offer lots of performance also. And I think he said he had that option also in his GTI Volkswagen. So make no mistakes about it, guys. These transmissions are not just on this motorcycle or on motorcycles. The likes of Corvette runs that transmission. And you know, I understand, guys, it's got to be a lot quicker than shifting, well, I don't know about a lot quicker, but it is quicker than shifting the manual. You know, I've heard that thing shift under performance mode, and it was seamless. But today, if I had the option of buying that Corvette in a DCT option or with a clutch and I guess not even an H pattern shifter, I don't even need the H pattern shifter, I would have been fine with just a sequential shifter. But the idea of releasing that clutch in the friction zone is still something that I think will give me a bit of a thrill. I recently took my grandson out on this motorcycle, 14 years old, guy that's big into the Corvettes and the Hellcats, and this kid can give me all the specs and details about these cars that I don't even know that much about, the CTSV Cadillacs. And when I took him out on a ride and I put this motorcycle in sports mode and I slipped the clutch on it, guys, the front wheel came off the ground. I could not believe the performance in sports mode. Right now I'm riding this motorcycle and I keep it in tour. A lot of the times this weekend I rode it in economy mode to get as much gas mileage out of it as I can. One of the complaints about this motorcycle is the gas tank not being as big as people think it should be. So as I was riding with my friends with other motorcycles, you know, I didn't want to be the guy pulling over at the gas station and saying, hey, I need to fill up. So I rode it in economy mode. You know, one of the videos that I watched that I thought was super interesting was of Jerry Palladino talking about the Goldwing not being as maneuverable as the Harley Davidson. He gave lots of different information on that. I'm assuming facts. I don't know for a fact. But one of the things that he mentioned about this motorcycle, DCT version, was the fact that he couldn't do some of the very tight maneuvers because of not having that friction zone with the clutch. Of course, he talked about the longer wheelbase of the motorcycle and the sensitive throttle, even in rain mode. And you know, recently MC Ryder put a video out where I thought the way he titled the video, I thought he was gonna dispel some of the things that Jerry Palladino said. And you know, and what that video was him explaining the same thing Jerry did and agreeing with him. Now MC Ryder, the guy Kevin, also owns a DCT Honda Goldwing, along with 2 other motorcycles. So again, he has made the statement of him at times reaching for the clutch on the DCT when he didn't have the clutch there. What I found was interesting is he has also, and he loves his motorcycle, if he had to buy it again, you know, he said he wouldn't hesitate, especially if it was the only motorcycle that he was going to own. It would be the DCT version of the Honda Goldwing. What I found was interesting with him, was that he have had the foot controls installed for shifting gears when he's using it in manual. So he can still use his feet to shift gears when he put it in manual, even though he owns that DCT. That was interesting to me. Again, you know, for the simple fact of wanting to create muscle memory, and the transition in between motorcycles, I'm sure, is also a concern of his. So guys, no knock on the DCT. I haven't ridden one yet. You know, Honda doesn't allow you to just test ride their motorcycles unless they think you're a serious buyer. And they get lots of criticism for that. Harley lets you ride almost anything. I mean, I've been to Harley Davidson, just give them some information, fill out some stuff, and you can ride some of the biggest and baddest motorcycles they have. Gotta love it. But what I realized on these Honda Goldwings is if you put this Goldwing in the hand of an experienced rider and he drops it, the protection for this motorcycle is not at this time as readily available as for most of the Harleys. So again, I'm reaching out for someone because I love doing the slow speed maneuver in the concourses. That if anyone have any information on how I can get some proper drop guards. I did see a video with one guy that deals with some guy in Miami. But that seemed to be somewhat of a weld up a situation where some welding and so forth have to be involved. You know, I would love to be able to just buy aftermarket stuff, and I have no problem trying to install that stuff myself. So guys, why I bought the manual version of the Honda Goldwing as opposed to the DCT. And for all of you guys out there that was giving that 19-year-old a hard time, you know, that kid is just out having some fun. He's as uninformed as I am, or as I was, because I did some research after watching his videos. And like I said, he has accomplished exactly what I think he wanted to do. And that was, you know, with a title like that, because in his video, he clearly doesn't think all Goldwing riders suck. But, you know, he did what he did to bring the audience in. It definitely worked for me. So guys, again, always promoting the slow speed maneuver stuff, all the safety classes, MC Rider, you know, road strategies. I think there's one out there called Mojitsu also. And man, special shout out to my buddy Robert Simmons paying it forward. I cannot wait to get out there and do some practices with that guy, man. If you guys haven't yet, check that guy's channel out. Make it a priority to check his channel out. I am a VIP subscriber to his channel because I think it's so important. I am part of the Preload Nation and proud of it. Get out and practice, guys. Now, I don't care what you ride. Get out, ride, have a good time. Ride safe. Rich, the Return Rider, out.